Hello and welcome to the DKM podcast. This is Kenny. I got my host Danny and I got Marcos here with me today. How you guys doing? This is episode 49. So, yeah, how you guys doing?
I'm chilling.
We're halfway there.
Halfway there. Well, we're
Almost.
one episode off of being halfway there.
Yeah, we're almost halfway there.
Yeah, that at 100 we're just going to stop recording
We're
videos.
just that's it. It's gonna be the greatest episode though. That 100th episode is gonna be
And
pretty
Hell
crazy.
yeah.
Unless maybe like halfway through the production, like the budget might get cut off. It might make some really obscure, really weird avant-garde ending, and then later like the fan base will complain, and then we'll make the end of DKM podcast movie. That'll be really interesting. I'm really pushing the label, the limit,
the
as
thing
you
is,
will,
the
what we could
100th
do.
episode isn't going to even have words or anything, any coherent
No, it's just going to
things.
be us really
It's
quiet.
going to be like a 10-hour episode of just code, I guess. S-
Just all Morse
just
code.
all kinds of codes.
No. C sharp
Just
code.
like any like
Okay.
in different coding, like Morse code. We got all sorts of different symbols and stuff, and then out of nowhere talks about a murder homicide kind of thing, investigation happening, and then the whole community goes crazy. Like you guys remember the whole cicada thing where there was this online,
Cicadas?
huh?
Cicadas?
Cicada, yeah, it was like a ARG thing where it was like there was like all these clues and people had to find like all these
Yeah,
little cards all over over the
basically.
planet and
Sounds
stuff.
like I
Yeah,
love bees from Halo. Speaking
yeah,
about
an ARG
Halo,
essentially.
did you guys see that people are already getting their Halo merch early? Like the Xbox Series X and the controllers they've got them in like a week early. I think Mexico sent out to everybody a week early.
I'm so glad 343 was bullied to delay the game.
Me too, honestly. Like I'm so stoked. I've been playing Halo. I've been playing, just I've just been playing Halo. And I've been keeping up with the news, and people are speculating that it might be coming out on the 15th tomorrow.
So the Halo Infinite merchandising and the console was released ahead of time. It was supposed to come out
Yeah,
around the same.
it was released on the it's going to be released tomorrow. Well, technically tonight. Um but what's it called? They
Well, remind me because I'm a little confused. Was Halo Infinite supposed to be a launch title for the new
Yeah.
Xbox, or was that like
it was originally supposed to
okay?
be a launch title.
Okay, so yeah, that delay definitely really threw everything off into a loop.
Yeah.
The only example I could think of something similar like that is with the new Five Nights at Freddy's game that's coming out in December. Originally it was supposed to come out in 2017 or something like that,
Hmm.
but with this game being a much more higher budget and there's a lot more merchandising involved, like
Well, so here's the thing. So the Xbox Series X was supposed to be sent in it's supposed to be arriving on the 15th to people's houses. I got the Elite controller. I'm trying to get the actual console. Um it arrived a week early for some people, and some other people it arrived like 2-3 days early.
What's crazy is that yeah, so we already established that the Halo Infinite was supposed to be a launch title for the Xbox Series
Yeah.
X, and the thing is the Xbox came out November 10th of last year. So seeing that, what, a year of development alone on an industry that has the financial backing of Microsoft of all companies, it seems that this has been a long time coming. I'm not sure if it's still there, but for the last year, and even before the game was even supposed to be released, with the Xbox, there was a whole bunch of like the double EXP tokens that you can get from buying Monster drinks and stuff. Call of Duty still does it with Doritos and Mountain Dew, ironically speaking.
mhm.
So seeing this whole uh,
the true
right,
gamer's
so seeing
diet.
this,
Oh man, I saw something pretty funny about Mountain Dew with Master Chief.
are they being advertised for Halo Infinite?
Uh no, it was it was a meme. It was like how do you get him out? How do you get the green guy out of the Mountain Dew?
Oh, what I wonder. I'm not sure if maybe you can shine a light on this if you're aware of it. But if someone has bought
Okay.
cases of Monster cans, right? Because that's usually they drink one Monster can a day, right? And they buy the whole pack,
Hmm.
right? And they have what do you call this? These tokens, these codes and stuff. I wonder, does it still transfer over to Halo Infinite? Those tokens, will they still be recognized by 343?
The ones that were given a year ago?
The ones that you buy from the any monster can you buy or any monster can pack, like the
Yeah, but
20.
remember they had like the promotional stuff from last year as well for Halo Infinite, which was like double XP tokens and stuff.
Yikes. That's
Yeah, I think that stuff's still going to work.
Mm.
Yeah, I always, so that means you have to hold on to the, wait, so if you put the code in, does it still work when the game eventually
I
drops,
think
or
it
is
was to be put into a website, like a specific website, and then they email you the
That's
codes.
true.
I'm not sure exactly. I never did it because I never got any of
so
the
hopefully you
promotional
didn't
stuff.
lose that email in the spam box or
Oh, dude, it's
something.
the
Well, I
same way
mean,
with
if you were
Doritos.
smart, you just write it down. But
Yeah, but you know, how
little
many people are gonna write
hint,
down a year old
Mm-hmm.
code?
if you look up what is it? I think it's on Google. It should like Halo Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
It should tell you. It says that it releases in like 2 hours or some crap like that. Or yeah,
Hmm.
if you search up Halo release date or release.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, right here it
Well,
says initial release date November 15th, 2021.
because they had to update it,
Yeah,
obviously,
but this is
because
on
it
Google
didn't.
because it's not launching. It's not supposed to be launching until uh December 8th.
Oh, yeah, it sometimes gets a little confused between like initial release date and when it actually is supposed to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just dumb.
Yeah, so anyways, the example I was trying to say was that like with the new Five Nights at Freddy's game, all the merchandise came out early. So most people kind of got the basic idea of the story because the merchandise came out early. Like because people pre-order the game and stuff like that. And that's the thing about with delays, especially because like you have to, when the news comes out, not only do you have to delay the game, you also you had to inform the fucking merchandising as well. I mean, look at a good example like the Sonic movie,
Mm-hmm.
for example. Originally, when before that, fucking disgusting piece of shit design was revealed, originally they had this whole line of merchandise lined up to come out when the movie dropped, but because of the delay, because the reception was so bad, they said they had to redo it. All that merchandise had to get completely scrapped from the get-go. That's an interesting thing. I don't think I've seen any movie merchandise for the Sonic movie.
Me neither, actually. That's quite interesting. I will say when it comes to merchandise,
Because like
I
because usually whenever a new thing is about to come out, like the merchandise would get like catalog and shit, and there's like they'll let people know ahead of time, like these are what the toy companies are going to be
Oh
making.
yeah, you know what? Just like how phones they make the cases beforehand and then they come out with the actual phone.
well,
Oh yeah,
that's a simple
yeah.
explanation
I
because
can't.
obviously they get dimensions for the actual phone before the actual phone comes out, so
Right.
they can 3D print whatever they need to 3D print, and even some companies get a mock or a model phone, so they can work with that.
Like those display phones they have at at the cell phone stores. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I will say though, I'm pretty sure uh, when it comes to just Halo Infinite and their merch, that's supposed to be. It should have been a year already that they were supposed to release this merch, but I'm pretty sure the game's been developed for a year, an extra year. I'm pretty sure the merchandise and whatever merchandise that was going to be on back order because of demands and stuff are going to be released early
Mhm.
because hey, the game's coming out soon, so might as well release things early. Might as well build hype for the game to come. Which honestly, with regards to the Five Nights at Freddy's, I mean, we already know that the creator of Five Nights, he puts a lot of detail and story, much like with the Dark Souls series, that every single freaking item has a story built into it. I'm pretty sure the creator of the Five Nights at Freddy, he's a very innovative guy as well as his team. So I'm pretty sure you can find story in these merchandise that you get from pre-ordering the game. So
Right.
Yeah, like everybody knows who's the main villain. They know who the character you're playing as. Like this is before like the first trailer even dropped and things like that. It's just I use that as like an example is that
Mhm.
why like a delay, it costs time and money, and that's why like when things are set in motion, why things are planned in place. That's why they have to be they're in planned in that sort of order. Like if you guys remember that convention that happened with that one YouTuber who planned only less than 30 days and how much of a catastrophe that happened. You got to plan that shit ahead of time, like months to years in advance.
Right. Right.
I think with regards to just merchandise as a whole, I wonder if with Halo Infinite, obviously like many other companies, they're releasing these limited edition boxes, limited edition stuff for the game. Obviously, I've been helping out
Yeah.
Kenny with this limited edition graphics card GPU, which honestly, ever since I've seen there was this Gundam build, a PC Gundam build that was an all white
Oh
build.
man, it looks so
It's
nice. It looks so nice.
clean. I love it, and honestly, like that's what I would love to go for. But honestly, it's one of those things that it's just like way above anything else. It's aesthetically pleasing, but I personally wouldn't have gone
Hmm.
for it unless it was just given to me at a reduced price. But a lot of people really want certain limited edition items only because, well, a couple of reasons. Obviously, one, because they support the franchise, they support everything that it comes to when it comes to who's developing the game, the community, and yada yada
Yeah.
yada. Obviously, people are going to scalp it. For this case, obviously, I think before we started recording, Kenny mentioned that they've already
Oh
scalped
yeah,
the
yeah,
Xbox.
so the Xbox Series X Halo Infinite limited edition bundle is already $1,300. And it looks like somebody tried to post it on Walmart's website for 1,800 bucks.
Mm.
So yeah.
Is this going to be like a limited edition? Like they're only going to make a
Yeah, they're
certain
all
amount,
well,
or
this
is
is a 20th anniversary limited edition console, so yes, kind of like how they did with the Nintendo Switch Pokemon Switch
well,
Lite.
I was thinking more like the PlayStation 4 Pro where they did something similar like
Oh,
that,
yeah,
like the
these
blue
aren't
one.
numbered though. Like these are just they're gonna make them, and then after they're done making them, that's it. Like after this
But that's what
year,
I
I
mean.
think
Like,
they're
did they
not
say
going to
there's
make.
only going to be a certain amount made, or is it going to just be
It's not gonna be like
like you
the.
know what I'm?
It's not gonna be like the what's it called the. Geez, it's not coming to my head now. The Animal Crossings Switch. It's not gonna be like that.
Mm.
So it's going to be only made once, and that's
And
it.
that's it, essentially. Yep.
Okay, but they don't have an exact number of like how many they're
No, no.
making.
There's. It's not like how the PS4 Pro did it, where they had like
Okay.
50,000 consoles, and that was it.
Okay. Well, Marcos was bringing up the fact earlier about like limited editions and stuff like that. And have you guys ever bought like one of those like game limited editions are like in the triple
You're
digits?
you're telling me. You're telling
Well, yeah, I know
me.
Kenny, but
I
I'm
had
mainly referring that to Marcos.
the Juggernaut edition, Black Ops 3.
Okay, yeah, I know. I seen that. Marcos, have you ever spent like on a triple
Not
digits
triple digits, but I've
on a game?
gotten. Let's see. I think the only special thing I've ever gotten was the Assassin's Creed 3 Steel box that you get for pre-ordering the game, I think. But that's really about it.
Mhm.
I always tell myself I'm going to get the special edition of a specific game, but I never really go through with it because it's not something that I can see myself enjoying. Like I told myself, oh, I'm probably going to get the Elden Ring special edition, the one that comes with all these goodies and stuff. But then
Oh yeah, yeah.
the game comes out, and then I'm just like, oh
I
well,
feel like
I guess I missed my chance to get it because I don't really put too much care into getting these special editions because I honestly it's just like I'm gonna have it hanging there. I'm like, it's not gonna
yeah.
entertain me anymore.
I think it depends on
So
what it's. I don't think it's even the game. I think it just matters on
what
what
you
you're
get,
getting with the
yeah,
limited.
yeah. So
Like you're not.
what's it called with there's certain limited editions that I've passed on, even though they're like favorite franchises of mine. And the only reason why is because it's like useless crap. So like, oh yeah, you get this bag, or oh yeah, you get stickers and like a pin set, and you're just like, why is this even a limited edition? Why does it cost $80?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've gotten the it was the collector's edition for Doom 2016. I've gotten the legendary edition for Halo Reach. I've gotten what else was there? I got the console, the Halo 5 console for Halo 5 obviously. I'm trying to think what else, man. I've gotten quite a few collector's editions. I got the Prestige Black Ops, like the original Black Ops game. I got that, the Prestige edition for that. And I also have gotten the Modern Warfare 3 Xbox 360 Slim.
Hmm.
It's like off the top of my head of special edition stuff and things that I've spent in the triple digits for video games.
Yeah, I can't say I've done it. The best thing I've done is just I wait for the limited editions to sell out, and then after I buy the game, like just the base game, I just go up on eBay and look up the limited edition
Mhm.
with just the goodies alone, and you could just get them for cheaper that way.
The
Right.
only thing I've ever
Like,
considered is maybe console editions, like special edition consoles. Like I had a, I have a Xbox Series, not Xbox. I'm sorry, Xbox One S, and it was white. And I'm like, hey, it'd be nice to have a white PlayStation 4 Pro. And at the time, when I had this thought, the only one that had a white PlayStation 4 Pro was the Star Wars Battlefront 2 edition, or was it Battlefront 1 edition? I can't remember, but it was a white one. And later, Sony, I think, released a white PlayStation 4 Pro. But either way, like, that's the only thing I'm like, I might get it just because it's white and it matches nice. And I just like having a white console because it just looks fresh. But and I've told this multiple times to anyone who talked to me about Xbox. The only way I can really see myself getting the Xbox Series X is getting the Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl version, which is just a SpongeBob, paper or skin on it, and that's really the only way I could see myself actually getting it. But
it's when SpongeBob
yeah,
becomes the
basically
marble.
the meme.
Well,
You gotta
if they make a
be
Peppa the Pig
marble.
one, you'll probably get it.
The what?
If they make a Peppa the Pig one, you'll probably get it.
There's a Peppa Pig game that came out that people are just buying it to shit on it.
Oh man, I went to Hot Topic today and I saw a Peppa the Pig shirt. I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
I mean, of course.
It's because it's a
Peppa
meme
Pig
now.
is
It
the
is
big
a
meme.
meme.
You remember the whole meme with
Well,
Peppa Pig was like,
Peppa Pig is freaking taller than Charizard. Come on,
yeah, the whole
man.
meme about Peppa Pig being 8 foot tall or something like that.
She's 6'1".
Something like that.
She's taller
freaking
than me,
massive,
shit.
man.
Something like that.
I'm
All I know is
intimidated.
that people were just making memes out of misput information or just bad information that was miscommunicated because obviously Peppa is not really 6'1", but oh well. This is the universe we live in, so
Well, how do you know? You haven't seen her in person. She
I
could just
think-
be a
I
giant.
think it was cleaned up. Like I think it was like addressed by
Oh.
not by any random schmo. I'm pretty sure it was just like, yeah, we messed up here. I could be wrong. I do have to check on that.
Oh man, that's not
I
fun.
will say though that when it comes to just meme culture in general, like I really do enjoy people just going into a game or going into anything and just modding the hell out of it and really enjoying the fun of it, building a community off memes or building a community with great mods and stuff. Like there's obviously a bunch of Skyrim mods where it's only there just for the memes, and you can really give credit to mods and how amazing they can make the game feel, how great they can make the game like so much better than just the base game, the vanilla game alone. We talked about last week. Daniel and I talked about the Bloodborne demake and how
Well, the week before last week, right?
no, last week.
Well, the last
week.
episode.
Oh yeah, it was last week.
Yeah, episode 48.
That's right.
We talked about briefly Bloodborne demake, and this guy was basically working on this game for free. He was doing his own things, and honestly, the amount of love that independent developers just do their own things, that they develop great mods, great games, that at this point, and I just wanted to lead on to this, that if you get a modded Grand Theft Auto San Andreas game, it's going to be a whole lot better than the catastrophe that was just recently released with
Yes.
Grand Theft Auto's the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition.
Definitive Edition.
Which, honestly, I didn't notice this until now because I didn't put too much attention to it, but Rockstar was keeping it kind of hush-hush about not releasing, like, preview copies to, like, big gaming websites and
But there's a
other
there was a
YouTubers,
reason for
like
it.
with Cyberpunk did the exact same thing in the sense of like, hey, we're gonna give you a review copy, but you can't review it. You got to use
you can't review it.
you can't use review. Well,
So is that like the ultimate tell right now? If a bunch
so
of
the embargo
gaming,
lifted on the day of release. That's what. that
Well,
was the-
yeah.
yeah,
But
no,
that's
but
what I
I'm
mean.
talking about more like whenever, because usually like games game publications will say like, hey, just so you know, we haven't received a review copy of the game yet, so but then again, sometimes they don't have to say it up front. Like some people could receive a review copy, but they don't have to publish the review until the embargo comes out. But with Cyberpunk, I don't think it was Cyberpunk. I think it was another game where they told people like we didn't receive I know it was a Ubisoft game. I know it was that Cars game that came out, The Crew, I think it was called. They told everyone like, yeah, we didn't receive a review copy, and Ubisoft's reason was, well, this game is like an always online multiplayer game, and if you played it without the online, it would like be a lesser experience. But I remember there was like another game that went through something similar like that, where I think it was GameSpot or something said, just so you know, we haven't received a review copy of X game yet. So I think that's like the biggest tell sign right now. If a game hasn't, if a publication tells people, hey, we haven't received a review copy, start worrying or stop panicking.
Yeah, also, like, they didn't show off any gameplay. The game felt like it was rushed. It was pretty much, we didn't hear rumors until like a few
Well,
months
there was
ago.
rumors of
Yeah,
it,
but
plenty of rumors of it.
but it was a few months ago
Every
that
day
we,
there was a fucking news publication telling about like the game got ESRB rating. It was coming to Switch. It was doing this and that. I was getting this shit was like not that surprising for me. I knew that it was coming eventually. It was like when the Castlevania Advance
but they
trilogy,
could have done a
Advance
better
collection was
name,
announced.
dude. They could have done a better name. The
What?
trilogy, the definitive edition.
You don't remember? Like, listen, Kenny, you go to Walmart with me. You know that like you could go to Walmart right now and you could buy the box that comes with the 3D Grand Theft Auto games on PS2 right now at Walmart
Yeah.
on PS2. That was called the Grand Theft Auto trilogy.
Yeah, the trilogy.
I had it.
The trilogy, but this is the trilogy, the definitive edition.
Yeah, of course. I know that's ironic because, it clearly isn't.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna give my take on the matter. I know some people might say like, "But Daniel, you defended these games and you said that the game looked all right." I said just to clear up the air a little bit. I said that I was expecting the game to be a little bit more exaggerated and cartoony based on the fact that these are the PS2 games. And to summarize it, I would have complained that the games were basically Grand Theft Auto 5 with a Vice City skin. I would have a little been pissed on that because I like the aesthetic of the PS2 Grand Theft Auto games. And funny story about that, I could give a little bit of personal take on the matter. So I streamed on Friday. The plan was that Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition came out, I believe, on Thursday, right at the time of this recording, right?
So,
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was supposed to come out. I think it came out on Thursday, and so I knew that Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was coming out on Game Pass, right? It was coming out to Xbox Game Pass, and I thought, okay, cool. If let's assume that this trilogy is a fucking trash fire, at least I could get my jollies out of just playing it on the Xbox Game Pass on PC. When I got home that Friday, I was going to go download it when I noticed that the game wasn't on Xbox Game Pass, and I finally found an article that said, well, no, to clarify, it's not coming to PC, it's only coming to the Xbox. I was like, oh, that sucks. Well, fuck it. You know what? I want to play these games, even if I knew that how bad it was. I was just way too curious, and I wanted to try it out, and I thought it'd be fun material to riff on, right? Yeah. So I go ahead and I launched the Rockstar launcher because like fucking every developer now with any money all of a sudden wants to make their own fucking launcher. Who gives a shit? I go ahead and I launched the Rockstar launcher and I couldn't connect to the internet. I thought, okay, that's really weird. And so I thought, okay, how the hell do I buy this trilogy? So I go to the Rockstar website and, they advertised the trilogy and they said, click here to order now. So I click on it and you could buy it on the PS4, PS5, Xbox. No, I don't think it's on PS4 yet. I think that's coming out later. But you can buy it on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, but I couldn't find the PC version. And that's because the PC version got pulled off of shelves. Like, you can't buy it right now. And not only was it pulled off from shelves, the Rockstar launcher went down, and people who wanted to play a offline single-player Grand Theft Auto game wasn't able to play it because the DRM wouldn't let you do that.
Are you talking about Denuvo? When Denuvo went down this week?
No, not Denuvo. I'm talking about just being able to launch the fucking game from the Rockstar launcher.
I'm just talking
about,
like
Steam has like
Denuvo, like they went down this week, and there was a lot of people that were upset.
What do you mean? Well, we'll get to that later. But yeah, that was pretty crazy to find out. It's like, well, like whenever people say like, oh, but what if you go offline? Then we'll just play the game offline. Like most Steam games I've ever launched, I was able to play offline just perfectly fine. And going back to like Denuvo, you said like when Sonic Mania launched on PC with Denuvo, that became a whole fucking shit show. There was a hurricane that was about to hit Florida at that time. I knew my internet was going to go out, but I was able to play Sonic Mania at launch perfectly fine on PC. with no issues at all with not being connected to the internet. So yeah, going back to Grand Theft Auto real quick. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy, the definitive edition, has been pulled off of the PC platform. Apparently, the reason is that there's some files in the game that are not supposed to be there. From what I've read, apparently it's like notes that the developers wrote, like little, like, you know, like developers like to write little notes in code to be like, hey, guy who's checking this part of the game, like, I'm having this fucking bug right now. It's pretty funny shit. Like, even like the most, like, I think it was like a SpongeBob game on the GBA that's like, if you read the code, like the developers are like cursing the fuck out. They're saying some like really mean shit. And like my favorite one is that they started putting like, I'm not even joking, I swear to God, they put SpongeBob porn into the game's code for some fucking reason. And in the middle of all that, they also put like a Super Nintendo emulator to test things out. I swear to God, it's really fucking weird and fascinating. But yeah, so the Grand Theft Auto collection, as even though it was called the definitive edition, couldn't get the licensing for a lot of the music, including Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. Like, god damn it, I can't imagine playing Vice City without that song playing on my radio. But it turns out that the music is in fact in the files of this definitive edition, and all you have to do is run a single bad file to unlock it. Technically speaking, that's illegal. Rockstar shouldn't be having those files in place in the first place. Like, if you played the original Grand Theft Auto Vice City through Steam, the game would have been patched to remove Billie Jean off the soundtrack. But you can still, of course, mod it back in. But that's a discretion of the player to do that, not Rockstar to do that. So I guess Rockstar found out about this. They don't want to get like a bunch of legal issues right now, which they're still going to get a lot of legal issues because people want their money back. Rockstar pulled the game off of store shelves, and I don't know when the hell they're going to release it again. And yeah, it's a pretty fucking shit show. I'm not even talking about like all the technical problems and things like that. I just find it so funny that the game came out, received poorly, found out shit that wasn't supposed to be there, and then gets pulled. Yeah, it's pretty fucking funny. I think my favorite was like the part where like if you put the camera facing behind CJ will be facing the camera itself, and like
with,
he'll just keep like moving.
First person, and you want to do a 180, and you'll see.
Like, yeah.
If you manage to do a 180, you could see CJ's face. Like there's a actual camera in his actual face, and yeah. So that's interesting.
It's pretty fucking funny. It's like, you know what, like when a baby gets a phone and it's like the camera's facing at them and they just start like running with the phone. It's exactly like that.
Dude, there's a myriad of issues with this game. Obviously, much like with Cyberpunk 2077, as I brought it up, CD Projekt Red was definitely like, hey, you can review the game, but you can't really use the footage for it, except the footage that we allow for it, because it is what it is. And a lot of people were kind of like, wow, this is kind of like yikes. So now we know that's a red flag. Obviously with San Andreas, with Vice City, and with GTA 3, all we got to see was whatever the trailer had. And obviously it did look all right in the trailer. Obviously some games definitely looked great. The thing is, when we get the full thing and you actually have actual gameplay, we have a myriad of issues. Like if you do certain haircuts, they don't line up on CJ right. Like the skin tone, it doesn't even look like he got a haircut. It looked like he just had tape on him, like actual like just tape to match the haircut he got. I'll send you guys a copy of the actual image. But like the game has a myriad of just a whole bunch of issues. One of them being rain. It always seems like it's
the rain.
Seems like it's raining nonstop whatsoever. Like heavy rain where you can't really see the what do you call this? You can't see the road ahead of you. Here, I'm sending a picture of the of CJ's haircut if you guys want to look at it in our little host only chat. But
yeah, that looks really bad.
The rain looks like milk. The rain is always heavy pouring, so you can't see in front of you, especially at nighttime.
Yeah, and then
you know what it looks like.
Issue. There's also a fog issue.
Fog and haze.
It shows the entire.
There's no
map.
fog. Yeah,
exactly.
Which breaks the immersion.
There's a.
Yeah.
There's a thing about with the rain thing that the best way I could describe it is that the rain doesn't look like it's an actual element in the game. It looks like there's just a really shitty rain filter on the camera at all times.
It's kind of
so
sad.
When you're driving, it looks like
said
Huh?
it's kind of sad how many
It really is,
issues
because it looks
around.
like there's like this really weird rectangle that's constantly following your character around, and the rain is always consistently in front of you. Like it's like a really, that like the joke where it's like, oh, when it's really sad in the video, you got to put it in black and white and put a little bit of raindrops in the front of the camera and shit like that. It looks
Even
like that.
glitches or
Right.
basically bad coding or bad bugs or anything that was included in the Grand Theft Auto mobile version of the game, so the mobile port, a lot of the issues that were in there are showing up in this new remastered version of the game, right? So one of them being if you're flying through the air on the mobile version of GTA San Andreas and you get out of your plane and you land on the water, you don't go through the water, you literally just stop at the surface water level, right? But you're swimming. Obviously, if you're falling from a high distance, you're supposed to go into the water until you come to a full complete stop, like in the original Grand Theft Auto San Andreas games. Well, that isn't the case here, and in the definitive edition of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, you get to see that happening again. There's also, what was it? The rain goes through a whole bunch of things like roofs, buildings. It rains indoors because I think the game doesn't recognize that the roof
So
you're in is an actual entity that nothing can go through, not even sunlight. But yeah, you said
so I'm
go
I'm
ahead.
I'm going I started going to school for programming, actually for game development to be more particular. To
Mm-hmm.
me it sounds like it's a lot of engine issues. Like it doesn't have to do a lot with, like the level well, actually, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It has nothing to do with the engine issues. It has mostly to do with the level design. So like it sounds like the game design
Yeah.
artists, because they're the people that make like the level design and all that, they didn't make any like sort of hitboxes or anything like that where you have a piece of structure above you. It clips through it. You know what I mean? Like they made it look like it was a building, and yeah, you can probably walk on it, but like rain doesn't interact with any part of the part of the world except for the floor.
What's awesome is that with this whole coding issues, obviously this game needed more development, needed more time in the oven. Since you brought up the whole fog haze thing, a lot of
Hmm.
people love to climb to Mount Chiliad, which is the tallest point of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and just chilling there,
Yep.
enjoying the scenery, which is basically just a bunch of fog and stuff. But like you couldn't see past a certain distance because obviously the render distance was what it was back then. The PlayStation 2
Right.
and the Xbox weren't really the strongest consoles at the time.
Well, they did that. They did that to hide, or to increase the frame rate and all
That's
that.
true. That's definitely true. When speaking about frame rate, it runs at 20 frames and a good amount of
Oh yeah, it
missions
runs
and
like
stuff on the
crap.
Switch. On the Switch. So what's
Yeah, I heard it
crazy,
runs like crap.
but
I'm not that
But what's
surprised, to be
crazy is
honest.
that this game that obviously doesn't take that much memory at all, even if it's a new version of it, a new definitive edition, because it's not a big game, it's still causing a
No.
lot of frame rate issues with even on the Switch, as weak of a console that is. But with regards to just everything that's happening with the game, you can see a whole bunch of images with regards to like what the original character designs on some of these characters, like in San Andreas, the definitive
Right.
edition, and how weird it looks. So there's old man Tyrese, who's the barber. He looks like an old man. In the definitive
Oh yeah.
edition,
No, he looks like a young
he
boy. He
looks
looks
like
like a
a
spring chicken.
buck. I'm sending you guys another picture, and this is like literally the
I've seen
first
it.
girlfriend you can get in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Uh,
Oh yeah, she has like a bandana on her
it
head.
looks
Dude,
like,
she looks hell.
but she
She
looks like
looks
she's wearing a
ugly.
beanie. And then I also sent in that photo. There is a mod. The mod looks basically much better than
Yeah, it's
GTA
way
5
better.
graphics. The thing is that I was looking forward for this game for the possibilities the mods can come in and see what this new game, this new improved game can do and can push, because obviously it's a lot more polished, it's a lot more available. But Take Two is really angry, which Take Two is being the parent company of
Yeah, the
Rockstar.
publisher.
They're really angry that they have that there's mods for their games for Red Dead, for Grand Theft Auto 5, for San
Well, that's
Andreas.
that's their own fault for, like I guess if they wanted to gate that, they could do that by using DRM, but
But regardless, that
still, like,
even the mods, which is what I started off this topic with, even modders who do this for free and do this for the love
Yeah.
of actually just in making the game a lot more innovative, a lot more immersive, that they
Hmm.
aren't getting paid for this, and they're just getting paid by recognition and stuff, and people can donate to them saying, hey man, you did a fantastic job, here, take some money because you deserve it. And even then, like the Vados Peds pack, which is a modded thing for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, it makes characters look amazing. So it's a shame that this is what we got to see for this game. Obviously I didn't have that much high hopes for the vanilla game itself, and I'm glad I had these expectations, but for Christ's sakes, dude, like this was a horrible launch, and
Okay, okay. So with saying that, question Marcos, do you think this was a worse launch than Cyberpunk?
um, no, no,
No,
definitely not,
Really?
definitely
no,
not,
far from it.
because
Really?
No.
Cyberpunk it was standing on the shoulders of Witcher 3, and they were promising a lot of things, a lot of bunch of things that they even the game now still doesn't have included in it.
Oh, it
Um,
probably won't. It probably won't ever have it.
Probably, yeah. That's it's safe to assume, right? Like the amount of stuff that they're going to add in it, right, to make it Witcher 3 futuristic, Witcher 3 plus, because the amount of stuff that Witcher 3 had was phenomenal for a game that came out at its time. So
In 2015,
the
yeah.
thing is, the way CD Projekt Red was being held up to such a high standard, because they obviously met that standard time and time again, being a company that's not like EA or Bethesda, who tend to
Right.
be a little bit more grummy when it came to their IPs. So seeing Cyberpunk,
Releasing unfinished
right, but
products
not just
essentially.
that, but seeing how much of a like even The Witcher 3 when they first came out had a lot of myriad of issues and bugs when it first came out, but at least the game was playable to a certain extent compared to like Cyberpunk. But when it comes to GTA, what do you call this? Yeah,
Cyberpunk
GTA
for
the
me was
definitive
pretty
edition.
playable on
We already
PC.
knew that in GTA the definitive edition we weren't expecting much. Like the trailer looked like, a lot of people had like their reservations of the game because of how it looks, how some characters looks, and yada yada yada. But like it wasn't going to like be a big release. It was just going to be those for the people who wanted the nostalgia, and maybe even those newer or younger kids who never really had a PlayStation 2 and they just want to play this other GTA titles that came out in the past. So I feel like it wasn't as big as a
Well,
bomb.
now it's the only way to get it because they delisted the
Yeah.
originals. And that's the insulting thing, is that like not only did you make the scummy definitive edition that's a cash grab, it's the only way you could buy
Yeah.
it now. Now, and ironically, the only way you could play these games and this version is through piracy, because you can't buy it now.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, hey guys, you know you can always pirate it, even though it's illegal. We don't condone this. You can always pirate it.
I will say though, like the discussions of pirating and how you get to pirating, it's like it's a very interesting dilemma and discussion to have, because like
So I feel like with pirating, if you own the game, it's legal because you own the game. You gave the developer the money. You're just finding another means to playing the game that you already own.
right. But what I mean by that is this: like, have you heard of the whole thing about let's just say the captain of a ship. I'm sorry, I said the other way around. The captain of a
The
ship,
ship of a captain.
one by like every day he replaces a piece of the ship because it needs to be replaced, right? And as time goes
Right.
on, one guy goes behind the ship, and anytime they replace a new piece, he keeps the old piece, right? So as the year goes on, the captain has basically replaced every single piece of the ship entirely. How this occurs, it's going to be really really hard because there's a lot of structural things that you can't really replace. But for the sake of the
Oh, you're talking about the
well,
same.
the thing is like this captain has replaced every single piece of wood on that ship, and the person who's behind them has collected all of these pieces and
The ship.
created the ship.
Yeah, you're talking about the ship.
Yeah. So
you're talking about,
what is the
yeah, you're talking about the
right?
ship
So
of Theseus.
there you go. So what is
Yeah.
the original ship? The ship which the captain owns and is now filled with new parts and stuff, or the guy who basically stayed behind and collected all of the old pieces of the original pieces and put it together. Like, what is the real ship? And this is how you want to view like philosophy in certain angles. But why I'm saying this basic what do you call it? Why I'm bringing this up?
Yeah, where you
Why
going
I'm
with
bringing
this?
this up is because when it comes to pirating, like if I give Kenny uh, one page of a book, right, and someone else gives us another page of a book, and he gets enough pages where he can recreate the entire book, because someone just ripped off a page and just gave it to him. Kenny never bought this book, but he's got the full book. Obviously, it's not the exact same book like a new book, but it's obviously he has all the contents included. Is that considered pirating? So if you just share one piece of it and just give it away, which it's technically kind of your right if you didn't sign any terms or agreements that say you can't do that, like, and
Yeah.
you manage to collect a whole bunch of seeds and put those seeds together to create the game or movie or whatever, is that pirating? And that's the interesting thing about law that I like to get into when it comes to like of course it is, because at the end of the day it's not the parts, it's the sum we care about, because and how you obtained it and yada yada yada. So I wouldn't recommend pirating because you can get in trouble if you don't do it right, but honestly just be careful. Honestly, just
Here's my take on piracy. Okay, there was a fantastic article a couple years ago by PC Gamer where they did the survey. They asked people, hey, look, complete honestly, did you ever pirate a game before? And the data was very, very interesting. Basically speaking, when people pirated a game, it's for a number of reasons, but the bigger reason is when people think about pirating games, you think about like European or third world countries where maybe they don't have Steam or easily accessible ways to get games. A great example was that some guy was talking about, like, look, man, I love video games, I really do, but a game to my currency is almost the equivalent of paying rent for a 1-bedroom apartment. So the only way he'll be able to viably play the game and be able to eat later that week is that he has to pirate the game in order to do it. He still buys a handful of games if they're possible, but due to a currency exchange system, that's why he's not able to do it. If you want my personal take on where I stand on piracy, I believe in the idea that if you are not legally able to purchase a game because it's not listed or it's not being sold anywhere else in the world, or it's not being provided, like, that's why, like, I don't collect retro video games anymore, because it's like, why the hell should I give a fucking guy 4 times in the game's actual worth to the fact, or I could just download a ROM that Nintendo or any of these publishers are not going to make a fucking cent off of that used game sale. You know what I'm saying?
They weren't going to make a cent off of it either way, so it doesn't even matter.
Even if you buy a used game, it might as well be the same fucking thing. They're not gonna make a goddamn cent out of it. So going back to with Grand Theft Auto, I don't blame them. Like, what's the alternative? It's either you can't play the original games because they've been delisted. You can't play the definitive edition because Rockstar delisted it as well. And my friend brought this up to me the other day on Twitter. It's like, now the only way you could viably play these games is if you either bought them when they were still available, like on Steam or on the Rockstar launcher before, or you pirate it. And that's the only thing you could do now, because I can't buy the game legally. So how the hell am I going to play a game if I can't buy it? You know what I'm saying?
It's the problem with, obviously, we've had this discussion with regards to like the PlayStation or Sony's PlayStation 5 the little panels that they have. It's not in their best interests to care about releasing these games again, because they had to see how much money they can get out of it. Is it worth the returns to go into it, to invest into it? And honestly, there is no proper medium for it. Sure, because it's delisted. Sure, because the online service is no longer up. So it makes sense. But the thing is, since it is their property, their intellectual property, it is their own thing, that they have a right to do with it as they will. Much like if you run your own restaurant, and you want to run it the way you want to run it, and depends on like whatever decision you make is a good one or not, is if your customers stay or not. That's an interesting thing you can talk about with regards to like in the past, with regards to like our American history when it comes to like what do you call this thing, like colored seating, and not like things get really deep into like how capitalism works in this sense. But when it comes to like these games, it sucks that we can't get them again, and the only way to do so is hopefully some random guy out there managed to get the game, download it in such a way where they could just burn it into the disc or burn it into their computer, and they could easily give it out just for free, because at the end of the day, no one is going to sell this game again until the very, very late future, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, because like, hey,
Oh,
We want to
fun
release this because we
fact.
want to make more money, because we believe now is the time to release it because it makes money. We think it's going to make money. Our projections say it makes money. So somewhere in Rockstar's team or Takes Two team, it says, "Hey, uh, we feel like with GTA coming down in hype, as well as with Red Dead Redemption 2, maybe we could release, I don't know, the original, the trilogy, the ones that really make GTA a big staple on the gaming map. We're just gonna release it as the definitive edition." And I think the projections convinced the what do you call those, the board of directors, the investors
Investors.
enough, where they're like, yeah, sure, go right at it. We agree with this. And then boom, 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 bam. And then obviously, like I mentioned before in a previous episode, developers want to delay games to make sure it comes out perfect, but investors don't want it to be delayed because they want to see the returns of they basically want to reap everything, good reaps after what they sown into the game, fiscally speaking. So this game was obviously not publicly, what do you call this, announced in such a way, because they knew it was not a good game. Not a lot of information was out. Not a lot of no review copies were out, because even the developers knew, even the investors knew. Yeah, the game doesn't look too good, but they don't care. They want their money's worth. So it is what it is. Piracy is just another way to play the game, because companies don't want to release their IP anymore because they want to keep it to themselves, and they just want to be greedy about it. But that's the game. You got to play it. You can't be mad at it. But yeah, just
Well, what you were just saying, Marcos, while you were doing that whole saying what you were saying, man, I was just remembering that, like, I still right now in my hands right now I'm holding the physical disc of Grand Theft Auto Vice City on PC. From I bought this for like $2 at a
mm,
Goodwill. I could still install this and still play this game on right now, and that's crazy.
Yeah, that
That's
is
why you got
crazy.
it, and that's why preservation is so
I think
important.
Um,
yeah, you were
But yeah, what
saying.
were you saying, Kenny?
so yeah, fun fact: piracy originally was supposed to be for game preservation. In fact, in a GDC conference
Mm-hmm.
from I think 2017, there was a developer that said that developers don't mind piracy as long as it's for game preservation. Like that was the original intention for piracy of video games, was to like have a video game in its original form, the way it was intended to be played,
Uh,
just a much more accessible version of it.
that doesn't sound right. I feel like you're talking about emulation, not piracy.
No, talking about piracy. There's
Yeah, if a game is no longer being
it,
sold, how the hell
Well,
are you
no,
gonna
I
be able
get
to play
that,
in the
but
future?
that's like more of an argument for emulation. But I feel like with piracy, like whenever someone tells me piracy, my mind doesn't go straight to like a game that's 10 years old, 20 years old, right? My mind automatically goes for, hey, the game just released. I'm gonna pirate the game and just download it, right? The game is still for sale. It just came out a couple months ago, or it came out the day of, and people are already pirating it. That's
Mhm.
my mind comes for it. But for emulation, sure, you can make the argument that it's a form of piracy. But like, I don't know, like maybe I'm just
But
dumb.
it is like
Maybe I'm just dumb about it.
that's essentially what emulation is a form of piracy. It's for game preservation.
Mm.
It looks like I was just checking this right now. It looks like they finally relisted the definitive editions
On
back
Steam?
up. I
The
could buy it
OG
right now on
one.
the not on Steam. It's never been sold in Steam. Yeah, no, the definitive edition. It's back up.
Oh,
I just opened up the Rockstar launcher and it just told me like, oh yeah, you could buy this now. And I just checked the Rockstar website. Yeah, you can now buy it now. They used to not have the PC button there. It was just only PS5, 4, and Xbox and Switch. But yeah, you can now buy it on
but
PC.
Nice.
Penny,
So you know,
I'm interested in what you just said, because obviously, like, we can put words on things, because obviously modulation has the undertone of piracy, right? But like, did they
Yes.
use the word piracy? Like what was that
I,
whole?
I'm almost positive that the game developer used the word piracy,
That's interesting. Okay.
because yeah, he used the word piracy in that portion of the video that I watched, and he said used to be a good thing, and the reason why was because it was a form of game preservation. It was a way to preserve games even long after they're gone
How old is this?
physically. Oh, I don't know. I think it's might be 7, 8 years old. The video now. I mean, we're talking. I think 20, maybe even older. I think we're talking like 2013,
Mm-hmm.
2011. Like, I think it's around that time period. But the developer's right. I mean, being honest, like let's say there's a new release of a SpongeBob game that was like a remaster of the old one, and they changed most of the game because it's a remaster. Um, you can't, and the, like let's say they delist it like they did with all the other GTA games. So now the only way to play it, like with the GTA games, is the new way, and it's not in its original intended form. So the only way to play it is by downloading a ROM off the internet and emulating it through an emulator to play it the way it was originally intended to be played.
Right.
So that's what they mean by piracy. That originally piracy, the way it probably was going to be called something differently, but that was a whole intention of piracy to begin with. And in fact, there was developers that did it themselves in order to give game preservation.
All right. I guess I can see the argument for that, because I guess this is just my way of thinking when it comes to like certain circles of piracy and emulation, because obviously emulation
Right.
has, again, undertones of piracy, because obviously you're not buying the game, you're basically downloading it off a ROM. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, you could always rip the original game and still use
That's
it through an
true.
emulator.
that's true.
That is true, and that wouldn't be considered piracy technically if
Nope.
you had your own copy.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier.
The only illegal part of the emulator is if you're using the system BIOS. If you download a BIOS from the online, it's technically that's illegal. Technically speaking, that's why emulators don't provide a BIOS for that reason. Like there's a great video of like, because I remember there was times where emulators were officially sanctioned by companies at one point. I forgot what was the emulator called. It was like some Zoink or some shit like that was made, and it was like a PlayStation emulator for the Dreamcast or something. I don't remember exactly. No, it was for the PC. And initially Sony was all for it, and what they said was that, pull any game from this shelf right here and put it in the emulator and see if it works out. So they had to reverse engineer the code of the BIOS of the original PlayStation in order to get that emulator to work on PC. And that's where it starts getting to the legal troubles, because technically speaking, you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
Which is why I brought this whole issue with piracy up with regards to seeding, right? Because like it's a little bit more interesting of a topic, because the process in getting it technically is legal in some aspects and in some games, with regards to like accepting certain terms and conditions. But if you have the whole game now, and now without paying for it, then obviously that is piracy. But it's just interesting to think about, like what's this whole fight against piracy, what companies do for piracy. Obviously we already know the very, like we've mentioned before in this platform, the very hilarious and innovative ways that developers put anti-piracy measures. Like in Undertale, you can't really play the game. And when you create, like this one game where you can create your own video games, like if like you can't go past a certain threshold or point, because your games that you developed become pirated and your company goes bankrupt and yada yada yada. So, or in The Witcher, obviously, like there's many creative ways in GTA as well. But even with all that, like, how does it hurt a company, which it doesn't, for a 20-year-old game for it to be emulated or pirated? It's and to the point where like even some companies don't even care so much about it, because it's an old game, and that much is clear. They just say they don't like it, but they don't really put the effort into it so much. Maybe because it's a waste of time, money, who knows? But it's interesting with all this that with piracy comes the whole talk like, hey, like, have you guys ever seen like like someone making a bootleg version of a movie because you just didn't want to go to the movie theaters and you just like, I'll just watch the bootleg version. Someone recording it on their phone and whatever.
Oh wait, you're talking about the actual movie? Like they just recorded really shitty, right?
With their freaking phone or whatever.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like those actual bootleg movies. Whenever like those kid films come out,
Talking about
they'll be like
those,
you go to
the Bollywood movies and stuff.
no, not the no, the Bollywood
They're
movies
amazing.
are a league of their own. I'm talking about exactly. Don't you disrespect Bollywood movies? I'm talking about like those, like when a Shrek movie comes out, they'll be like the funny ogre or like Finding Nemo, the Finding Freddy. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm talking about those
sort
movies.
Of bootlegs. The Chinese
I thought that's what you were
bootlegs.
talking about.
No, those are like the what would you call those?
The Chinese knockoffs, man.
Knockoffs. That's the word.
Knockoffs,
That's
yeah.
the word. Yeah. But no, I'm talking about like just if you wanted to watch John Wick 1 or 2, and you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna buy the DVD. I might as well just like
I'm gonna watch Jason Bourne Wick 1 and Wick 2.
Jason Bourne Wick 1, Wick 2. I don't know. It's an interesting topic to have. Obviously, with all legalities and stuff, like I don't condone it. It's just one thing that like you got to play the game, right? You got to play the game, or you got to play with the cards that you've been dealt with. And I would love to play Super Smash Bros. Melee on my GameCube, which I have the option to do so. But what if I didn't? What if I didn't have a Nintendo GameCube or a Nintendo Switch that was that was backwards compatible? What if I didn't have the actual disc? Like, it's one of those things that like not only that, Nintendo really didn't like the whole GameCube era of their games. That's why they didn't really revisit it with regards to like re-releasing games, except with like Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD, or Super Mario Sunshine on the Super Mario 3D All Stars, and what was it? I think Twilight Princess as well, but that was also on the Wii. But either way, like Nintendo doesn't like, they want to stay away from the Nintendo GameCube, especially Melee, and they're not gonna give any love to the Nintendo GameCube. Like obviously they just released with the expansion pass for the Nintendo Switch Online subscription service, the Nintendo 64 games and Genesis games, but that's because there's a market for it. And I don't know. Like, would you still pirate an N64 game because you don't want to support Nintendo? You still don't want to get a Switch? Because some people do.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
the Switch is a nice console. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course.
It's nicer to take the games on the go than it would be for you to just play it on the PC, and then you have to stop anytime you have to go poo or anything like that. So
But
I don't know.
the
I mean, there's the ups and downs. You get the nostalgia of playing on the original hardware, but you also get the jankiness of playing on the original hardware.
the thing is, like, even the Switch is super easy to break into. Like, super easy to break into.
Oh, the jailbreak it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I
Well, did you hear that the PS5 got jailbroken as well?
yeah. Oh, and speaking about,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Well, we mentioned this in the private chats, but we speaking about portable consoles and stuff. Like, obviously the Steam Deck was being pushed back.
Oh yeah, it was pushed back an extra 2 months.
Do you have any details on that?
It's because of supply chain issues.
yeah, like everybody else
I
is going
feel
Yeah,
through
like
right
so I
now.
guess they can't acquire enough like chipsets, like the SoCs.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't put it above them if they were or below them, whatever the saying is. If they just said that in order to get as many orders out, like, or enough stock in there, so like anyone who says, hey, you were supposed to receive this the Steam Deck in Q3, but now you're receiving it in Q2
Right.
because
Well,
we
what's crazy is that everything's getting pushed back. So like if you were supposed to receive your order in like Q4 of 2022, now it's going to be like Q1 of 2023.
yikes, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's pretty bad. It's because there's a shortage. TSMC is one of the only chip manufacturers that's making chips for AMD, and they're also making chips for all the automotive companies. They're making chips for now I think digital, or what is it, American Foundries or something like that. They're making chips for Intel. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of people going to TSMC, and that's AMD's like main component maker is TSMC for their chipsets. So like they're just spread as thin as possible, because of the fact that everybody's going to them.
I think that sounds like a monopoly almost, because
Well, so Intel has their own foundry. Um, then you have American Foundry, which they make their own stuff, and then you have TSMC. So it's a triopoly. It's not really a monopoly.
well, I only say that because you mentioned a whole bunch of things like AMD, car manufacturers, and they're just receiving it from
Yeah,
this
they
one supply.
mostly. Well, that's because they're ahead of the game on tech. So like right now they're working on 5 nanometer process,
Right. That makes sense, I
and
guess.
like Intel's still working on 10 nanometer, and I think American Foundry. I think they're expanding, but they're based in India. So I don't know what's going on with them. I think Intel was planning on buying them, or even working on contracts. And then I know Nvidia was making, uh, they were gonna purchase ARM at one point, and the UK was like, "Yo, that's against the law. You can't do that." And then
Uh huh.
there's also one other chip manufacturer. It's Apple. Apple makes their own SoCs now. So the M1 chips, the Apple Silicon, they make their own like process nodes and stuff.
I will say with regards to processing all of these or making all of these chips and stuff, wasn't like recently there was a shortage of was it silicon for PC parts or
No,
what was
so silicon is actually just sand.
right? Of course,
It's heated sand.
but what was the I forget what it was. There was a shortage of something that would cause an issue for future development or future manufacturing of graphics cards, processors, CPUs, etc., etc.,
Yeah,
etc.
the chip, just the process of making a chip. It's called a wafer.
Is that what it was?
So it's actually, it's the workers really. Like there's nobody working on the lines. Everybody stopped during COVID and all that, and it really pushed back their orders. So like now they're catching up on all them orders, and then there's also still people out from COVID, and obviously there was deaths. I feel bad for anybody that's lost family or friends, but yeah, like it's just a big old shit show because they have so many people going to them, and then they're just trying to make as many chips as possible. Sometimes they'll just abandon an old process. Heck, I think they reopened, what was it, the like 28 nanometer process for certain like car manufacturers and stuff because they don't
So
really need anything smaller.
so I just looked up and my memory was right. Bloomberg reported in September 30th, shortage in silicon metal sparked by production cut in China has sent prices up 300% in less than 2 months, which disrupts the whole chain when it comes to producing chips and all that stuff. Another article here saying that the ongoing computer chip shortage has its multifaceted causes, which include a drop and uptick in demand. So, putting these two together can definitely cause an issue with regards to future development of graphics cards or anything when it comes to GPUs. But yeah, all I'm saying is yeah. So the future is obviously not that bright, but I don't know, man.
Well, they're speculating 2023 is when they're going to catch back up to demand,
Okay,
and that's when it should level out. So it's going to be another cold winter next year on top of this year. So
okay.
just get ready for scalpers and unobtainable tech and shoes, because you know how shoes are.
Shoes has always been like
Um,
that.
that's where scalpers originally came from, was shoes, and they they just made their way over to you know technology.
Hmm.
Kind of annoying.
Well, there's always going to be scalpers. There's a supply. There's always going to be a
People inflating
demand.
the prices
Yeah,
of
but
things.
it
Yeah.
the issue is that there's an arbitrary demand because of the scalpers.
Right.
If you have everybody scalping, is it really a is it really the demand, or is it the scalpers that are buying up all the stock?
They're bottlenecking
Because
it. Yeah, they're
yeah,
influencing it to a degree. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So if nobody did scalping, how many people would actually have consoles? How many people would actually be going after these products?
Well, I guess I'll end with this, but we already know when the PlayStation 5 first came out, people had what, like easy 80 units of a PlayStation 5, both digital and the
Yeah,
disc
I
version.
I just saw the other day. I just saw the other day somebody bought 117 Xbox Series X's
Yeah,
off of Microsoft Store.
I hope that person steps on a
trying
Lego.
to
Oh,
recreate
barefoot.
trying to recreate the movie Chappie, where Chappie, this robot that gained sentience, stole a whole bunch of PlayStation 4s and created a supercomputer with it. So that was funny. It's a great movie.
That's a throwback from back in the PS2. People thought that Saddam Hussein was using it to
Oh
was using it as
yeah.
a way to, to run his
Hell,
operations.
dude, you're so right.
You guys remember that?
Wow, what a throwback, dude. And people were making memes of like Saddam Hussein not really using all this. He's just buying a whole bunch of PS2s for his insurgent groups, his militant groups. Oh, dude, hell yeah.
You
Yep.
just throw back to when PS3s were unobtainable and somebody shot somebody over a PS3?
Yeah, because they're the only things that
I'm not
it was
surprised.
basically a cheap Blu-ray, dude. It's the only way you can get a Blu-ray without
Yeah.
costing
Well,
an arm and a leg.
yeah, but it was like the new technology people wanted,
Yep.
you know.
That's true. Like the Popeyes chicken sandwich, new technology.
Still haven't ate at a Popeyes in my life yet.
Oh man.
It's greasy, but it's good. It's good.
Is it better than KFC? Because I always thought
I
KFC was
don't-
The
hot
KFC
garbage.
No.
chicken sandwich was pretty good.
Yeah, their
Not
chicken
gonna
sandwich is pretty good, but I will say though that the Popeyes has spicy chicken, so I prefer that. And it's not spicy like it's hot, but it's like it's got a nice taste. The seasonings are different and all that stuff. It's nice. It's good. I will say the sides are a little bit better, marginally better in KFC, but the chicken itself, I think I kind of prefer. But prefer.
Yeah, well, biscuits. Let's just talk about biscuits.
Oh, the dry ass biscuits.
You torture someone by giving them a biscuit
There you
with
go.
no
Oh,
drink.
the
Yep.
best biscuits. I'm saying this right now, and I'll end it with this.
Church's chicken.
Church's chicken, dude. That honey biscuit is so moist and
Hell
wet.
yeah.
It'll lubricate your blood vessels with cholesterol. So good and tasty. I love it.
Well, that was a lot.
Oh,
That was
man.
very off topic.
Yeah, but you know, we're just really hungry right now. But I think we should go ahead and wrap it
The
up
way
with
to a
that.
man's heart is food. What can I say, man?
Yeah,
Yep, that's true.
the way to a man's heart is through his arteries.
Oh, that's great. That's true. You gotta block those arteries with good food.
Oh
Good
man.
cholesterol.
Yeah. So let's just go ahead and wrap up, folks. Thank you so much for watching or listening to the DKM podcast. If you haven't yet, please feel free to just subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to help that grow. We also want to join our community. Make sure you join our little Discord server. The links will be down below. As you guys know, you can watch us or listen to us on any streaming service, audio streaming services like Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. I'm still working on getting this thing up on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever. And I think that's pretty much all we got to say now. I don't think I'm missing anything. You guys have a good one. Stay safe. Until next time, take care.